Handling a group of 3,000 people at a riot on Halloween night, officials are talking about their response to a party that got out of hand. And the fight for health care in Pungo Hospital. We're hearing from commissioners on all sides of the debate leading up to Election Day. Plus, we're hearing from both candidates in the race for Lenoir County Sheriff. They're sharing a similar message to voters, and additional tests are being run on a possible Ebola patient in North Carolina while officials are remaining cautious. The longest running newscast in the East starts right now.
This is 9 on your side at 6.
Off the top tonight, Greenville. City officials speak publicly about a riot at a housing complex in Greenville on Halloween. Police say about 3,000 people gathered at the Riverwalk apartment complex. Around 11 o'clock, things got out of hand. Our Andrew Ruiz attended the news conference and joins us live in Greenville with more. Andrew.
Angela, while things were relatively quiet here in Uptown, things were wreaking havoc out in a student community miles away. Police had to use a similar gas to tear gas to spread the crowd. They also arrested 5 individuals, 1 ECU student.
An inappropriate response to 3,000 drunken, some I'll classify as idiots, could be deadly.
Stern words from Greenville Police Chief Hassan Aiden Monday morning. He's reacting to what some called an inappropriate response to a riot that happened Friday night at the Riverwalk student apartment complex.
There is a certain level of embarrassment for our community that this happened, not in the way that it was responded to.
This video, exclusively obtained by 9 on Your Side, illustrates what went on that night. 5 people, including Elijah Robinson, were arrested for things like failure to disperse and resisting a public officer. Robinson tells us he did nothing wrong.
I wasn't acting unlawfully. I wasn't acting belligerent.
Aiden tells a different story.
There was a different flavor to this crowd and a different intent.
That intent included overtaking this bus. You can see several people, including 18-year-old Zachary Tanner, on it. Ultimately, the bus's windows were busted.
He's in the Pitt County Detention Center today. He was one that he's got an assault with a deadly weapon charge. He was an instigator of the highest quality.
But were the acts taken by police appropriate?
Neither of us had gas masks. We got the full effect of it just like the students did, and we're perfectly fine.
Police say prior to Halloween, they monitored social media and even knew about a denied permit for a band. They say this led them to be proactive by sending 25 cops to the area to monitor the situation. But the chief says they couldn't act until a crime was committed. The city now says they are looking into ways to prevent this from happening again. The mayor's working closely with the apartment complex and police.
We have taken direct response in working with the property owners proactively and constructively to make sure this does not happen again.
Out of the 5 people that were arrested, only 1 was identified as a student from ECU. The Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities would be handling such conduct violations. As for police, they're going to be reviewing body cameras to see if any further citations or violations and arrests will happen in regards to this incident. Live in Greenville, Andrew Ruiz, 9 on Your Side.
High emotions during a basketball game prompted extra security across several Onslow County schools today, and it's all over the fear of a school shooting. Deputies arrested teenager Ben Brady for communicating threats. They say this weekend he shouted about shooting during a basketball game. Brady told them he was talking shooting the ball, but social media posts suggest he was going to shoot up Dixon High School. The Onslow County Sheriff's Office upped their presence around Dixon High today. The school system says officials received information early enough that they were able to act swiftly. Deputies also posted extra security at Dixon Middle and Dixon Elementary. They'll be back on the job tomorrow, but school will resume as normal. Now, people will be out and about heading to the polls tomorrow. Will the weather cooperate? Chief Meteorologist Jerry Jackson is up to let us know. Jerry.
Well, it is going to be kind of an interesting forecast for us outside, Angela, over the next couple of days. Really, we're going to be seeing some up and down. Temperatures are going to continue outside. Let's take a live look at what's going on now, and you can see that we don't really have much of note out there in downtown Greenville to speak of. Just a chilly night of weather setting up, and kind of unusual now to see everything dark at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, we set the clocks back 1 hour this past weekend. Currently, we're nice and cold. 46 in Kinston, 46 in Kenansville, 46 in Rocky Mount. Elizabeth City checking in at 48. and Columbia checking in at 50 degrees. So it's going to be a cold start for you when you wake up tomorrow morning. If you're heading out to the polls early, temperatures will be in the 40s. During the afternoon, we recover into the 70s. That's a fast recovery, but we got a big cool down heading our way for the weekend. We've got your 7-day forecast coming up, Angela.
All right, thanks, Jerry. 9 on your side is on elections watch, and close races are at stake, proving it's important that you get out and vote. Now, if you weren't one of the more than 1 million people who voted early, you can vote tomorrow. And as your elections headquarters, we want to make sure you're prepared. Unlike early voting, where you can go to any precinct to cast a ballot in your county, tomorrow you have to go to your assigned precinct. Now, to find that, go online to ncsbe.gov. That will bring you to the State Board of Elections website. There you can enter your name and find your county, and it'll show you where you need to vote. Now, one of the biggest races is in Beaufort County for the county commissioner. 9 on your side's Josh Birch spoke with all of the candidates for commissioner. He's live in the newsroom with more. Josh.
Well, Angela, a lot is up for grabs with the upcoming election in Beaufort County, and one of the hottest topics over the past year is health care and the closure of Pungo Hospital.
You let the people who are impacted by that make that decision.
It's a topic discussed a lot in Beaufort County, the closure of Pungo Hospital.
Right now, you're not going to have a lot of folks that want to move into Belhaven if they have to drive 40 minutes to get basic medical services. They need to have something in there that's going to keep them there.
But what that is something that candidates for commissioner differ on. Robert Caton believes everyone needs access to emergency response, but doesn't think a hospital in Belhaven is necessary.
What Belhaven needs is what Aurora needs, a good health care center. And that good health care center would be an up-to-date 21st century clinic.
Ron Buzzio believes both Aurora and Belhaven need a facility with 10 to 20 beds to provide things like surgeries and emergency care.
I do not agree with the plan where we're going to loan them $2 million and we're going to set up a special tax district out there.
In that plan, approved by current commissioners 4 to 3, Belhaven and Hyde County would be required to raise $500,000, and the county would loan them $2 million to be paid back by a hospital tax. Ed Booth was one commissioner who said that was a bad deal.
That is the reason Ed Booth is willing to take the slack, whatever it costs, because when the dust settles, people can see that Ed Booth was right.
Frankie Waters, who lives in an area that would see higher taxes from the hospital, agrees and only supports a hospital if it's viable.
If they've got a group, or if they can receive money from the Obama health care group, then I'm all for that. But I am not for subsidizing it with local tax money.
And this seemed to be a consensus amongst most candidates for commissioner. They feel as if proper funding is in place to sustain the hospital in Belhaven without raising taxes, they would support it. Tomorrow, I'll be in Beaufort County all day, bringing you the latest from elections right there. Live in the newsroom, Josh Birch, 9 on your side.
Thank you, Josh. And an update to a story we first told you about last Thursday. It's about a complaint filed by Chocowinity EMS against Beaufort County. According to officials with Chocowinity EMS, a contract was breached when the county went to Vidant and told them the EMS crew could no longer transport patients from Washington to Greenville, claiming they were using taxpayer dollars outside of the county. Today, EMS officials responded.
As a citizen of Beaufort County, if I was in the ER over there, I wouldn't want to wait 3 or 4 hours to be transported to another facility.
Now, we did reach out to the county but never heard back. The county now has 30 days to respond to the complaint. If Chocowinity EMS does not hear back, they plan to file a lawsuit. Now, this is also one of the topics expected to be discussed at tonight's county commission meeting. It's been a battleground for months in Lenoir County as the race for sheriff gets hotter and hotter. As our Maria Satira tells us, even the Board of Elections is surprised by this race, Maria.
Absolutely, Angela. It's been about 30 years since there has been a race this big for sheriff. And elections officials say it's going to be a close one. Retired Kinston Police Major Ronnie Ingram beat out current Sheriff Chris Hill in the primary. And then just a few weeks later, retired Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Ricky Pearson collected enough signatures to run unaffiliated. I talked with them both today, and both say it's been a rough few months.
For sheriff candidates Ricky Pearson and Ronnie Ingram, they can't wait until this Lenoir County race is behind them.
If I get it, I will do the very best I can.
I believe it's time for a change in Lenoir County.
Pearson served with the sheriff's office for 38 years before retiring. His opponent, Ronnie Ingram, retired after 30 years with the Kinston Department of Public Safety. According to the Board of Elections, about a quarter of registered voters in the county already cast their ballots.
We have 39,000 voters here, and we already have almost 9,500 have already voted.
Board of Elections Director Dana King says she hasn't seen a sheriff's race like this.
It's just been a whole different situation, and there has been some, things going around that, didn't sound real nice, but, I think the candidates have been very congenial to each other.
I spoke with both candidates about their first order of business if they were to get elected. They have similar thoughts on a few issues, like working with Kinston Police to curb crime in the city. Aside from that, Pearson says deputy salary and retention is something he wants to address.
We spend thousands of dollars training a deputy to work, and for a mere $5,000, they'll go somewhere else.
As for Ingram, he wants to see a better relationship between the sheriff's office and the community.
You got to have that working relationship. That way, when something happens, the people feel comfortable in talking with you, giving you information.
Both candidates agree it's been a surprisingly nasty race, and they just want what's best for the county.
Lenoir County elections officials say every vote will make a difference during this midterm. The county has nearly 100 staff members working at 22 different precincts tomorrow. Live in the studio, Maria Satira, 9 on your side.
Thank you, Maria. The North Carolina Senate race is the most expensive in U.S. history, surpassing the $100 million mark. The race is gaining national attention as our voters are a crucial part over who controls the Senate. The days before election, polls are divided on who will take the seat. If Tillis or Hagan doesn't win by at least 0.5%, there will be a recount, and election officials say they are prepared for that to happen. 9 on your side will be all hands on deck tomorrow, bringing you election coverage. We'll be across the east with the very latest on these hot races. Former news anchor Alan Hoffman will join us here tomorrow night on special assignment. Make sure to tune in on 9 on your side beginning at 5 a.m. for the very latest. Health officials in North Carolina are continuing to monitor a patient for Ebola. This comes after initial tests have come back negative. State officials say more tests will be run before the patient is released from quarantine. Plus, students at ECU are taking a unique approach to a history lesson while they're building a wall on campus. We'll have those stories and more after your First Alert forecast.
And outside today, it's been an absolutely beautiful afternoon of weather, but still a bit on the cool side of things. Going to be cold tonight, but we'll make a fast recovery by tomorrow afternoon. Your Election Day forecast is next.
Now your WNCT-9 First Alert weather.
Well, it has been a beautiful but rather chilly afternoon of weather so far, and it's going to be a cold night for us tonight as we take a live look out in Greenville. Hard to get used to seeing dark conditions on the camera at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But of course, we had a time change this weekend. We saw everyone set their clock back 1 hour, and we're seeing dark conditions outside. But at least we don't have any rainfall coming down anywhere. It has been a very quiet afternoon of weather after what was at times a stormy weekend, especially back on Saturday and Saturday night with all that strong wind blowing about. The wind field has been considerably less impressive today. Our pressure 30.35 inches, and the higher the pressure this time of year, usually the better and more quiet the weather pattern, and that's exactly holding true today. 46 right now in Greenville. Ironically, we're running cooler here in the eastern North Carolina than our usual cooler spots toward the Triangle area. Raleigh is at 53, Fayetteville at 53, and then you find some even warmer air as you travel a little farther to the west, at least up to a point. Once you cross west of Kansas City, temperatures come crashing down. Denver's dropped all the way back to 38. Obviously, there is a cold front messed up in here somewhere, and that cold front continues to make steady progress toward the east. Now, for us, we will be protected by this most recent cold front by an area of high pressure that's in firm control now. So instead of cooling down over the next few days, our temperatures should begin to warm up by Tuesday afternoon and especially by Wednesday. But later Wednesday night and Thursday, that's when the second cold front will begin to come in, and that cold front will bring a good chance of rain on Thursday and much colder temperature readings for the upcoming weekend. So at least we'll be going on the back and forth over the next couple of days. Tomorrow we'll have the warmer weather, but tonight and by the end of the week we're bookended by very cold conditions. This evening we fall back to about 36 degrees for an overnight low in Greenville, 37 in Washington, 36 in Wilson, and then you'll find some warmer readings out toward the Outer Banks, Hatteras, with an overnight low in the mid-50s. As we take a look at our weather forecast for tomorrow, temperature readings will be in the 70s for the most part, a little bit bit cooler out toward the Outer Banks. We'll see Ocracoke topping out at 68, Hatteras at 69, and Manteo at 68. Taking a look at your coastal and boating forecast, we'll have a west to southwest wind at 5 to 15 knots, seas averaging 1 to 2 feet, 1 foot for the sounds. We have a light chop for the lakes and rivers. And taking a look at that 3-day forecast, it looks good really after a cold start tomorrow morning. Your election day forecast makes a fast recovery during the afternoon up to about 70. Wednesday will be the warmest day, will be in the mid 70s, and then the chance of rain increases on Thursday with the approach of another cold front. Still warm on Thursday, but by Thursday night temperatures start to fall, and by Friday and certainly this weekend it'll be every bit as cold as what we had to endure this past weekend.
Wow. Well, up and down, we can handle
Yeah,
it.
and at least we won't have the wind this weekend.
That's a plus. All right, thanks, Jared. Just ahead on 9 on your side at 6, law enforcement officials are taking a new approach to safety. Here's what the State Highway Patrol is now doing for the rest of the school year to help keep your children safe at bus stops next. Preliminary tests for a patient being monitored for Ebola are negative, but the State Department of Health and Human Services says additional tests will be conducted just to make sure. Until those tests are done, the unidentified patient will remain in isolation at Duke University Hospital. Health officials say the patient developed a high fever after a trip to Liberia. The patient arrived in the U.S. on Halloween at Newark Airport and was hospitalized yesterday. Officials say the person showed no symptoms while traveling and had no known exposure to Ebola.
So sometimes in very early stages with only a few symptoms, there will not be enough virus in the blood to turn the test positive. And later, as there's more and more virus in the blood, there would be enough to turn the test positive, and likely at that point to give the patient more symptoms.
So far, the only symptom the patient has is a fever. A former band director at Jacksonville High School is now on probation for having a sexual relationship with a student. 35-year-old Christopher Howard pleaded guilty to sexual activity with a student earlier this year. He's now sentenced to 3 years probation. Howard was charged in 2012 with 3 counts of sexual activity with a student by a teacher and 4 counts of taking indecent liberties with the student. Officials say Howard had sex with the girl a number of times, including one time in the school's band room. A school resource officer with WNCT County Schools struck 3 students with his vehicle this morning. It happened as the students were walking from the parking lot to go inside East Duplin High School earlier today. One student was taken to Vidant Duplin Hospital to be examined for minor injuries. The other 2 students did not suffer any injuries, but the schools encouraged them to get checked out as a precautionary measure. Now, in a statement, WNCT County Schools Superintendent says the board and the entire Duplin County Schools family is thankful that no one was seriously injured in this accident. The State Highway Patrol is investigating. Now, keeping students safe on their way to and from schools is a big initiative from law enforcement in North Carolina. Now, troopers from the Highway Patrol will be assigned to ride on school buses and follow buses in marked and unmarked cars in target areas. Officials say it's all a part of the Adopt a School program to be an extra set of eyes to enhance school bus safety. The initiative will last through the remainder of the school year. This past August, teachers around the country were able to apply for equipment grants from U.S. Cellular's Calling All Teachers program. Now, they asked for everything from computers and iPads to beanbag chairs. A dozen Pitt County educators have gotten almost $7,000 in new supplies for their classrooms. Today, U.S. Cellular employees got a chance to see kids working with some of that new gear. H.B. Sugg and Sam Bundy schools in Farmville have some Chromebook computers shared by classes, but these new computers will go to specific classrooms.
A lot of times we end up needing extra resources for the classroom, so our teachers look for outside resources such through the Donors Choose site. So they were very excited to get more technology in our students' hands.
Nationwide, $1 million in grants were made to educators by U.S. Cellular.
All right, coming up tonight in sports, a lost weekend for the Pirates up in Philadelphia. Now this East Carolina football team looks to regroup with another off week this Saturday. Your Monday sports, it's coming up next. East Carolina fumbled away that national ranking in a loss against Temple on Saturday. As expected, East Carolina fell out of both major polls on Sunday with that 20-10 loss to the Temple Owls. The Pirates fumbled the ball 7 times on Saturday, losing 5 of those fumbles, with 1 of them returned for an Owl touchdown. East Carolina goes from the driver's seat for that Access Bowl slot to a fight with several teams for the American Athletic Conference Championship. Pirates will certainly get their shot, though, with games at Cincinnati and a home game with UCF still to come. East Carolina gets back to work on the practice field coming up on Wednesday. We'll check back in with the Pirates at that time. NASCAR, everything's bigger in Texas, right? Even the disagreements. On the track, Jimmy Johnson was your winner, but it's what happened off the track that has everyone still buzzing. Now, here's what caused all the problems. Nerves frayed, obviously, late in this race. Brad Keselowski bumps Jeff Gordon, cuts Gordon's tire, and Gordon was in position to possibly win and advance to the finals. So Gordon wants a word with Keselowski afterwards. They're separated, and Kevin Harvick shows up and shoves Keselowski from the back, and then we're on. Everybody's going to take a shot now. It's an all-out rumble. Couple of bloody lips in the melee. Both Gordon and Keselowski wound up with those bloody lips. None of the 8 drivers eligible locking up a spot in the championship chase. Brad Keselowski says, hey, it's just racing.
I'm doing everything I can to win this championship, racing at 100%, and that's something I'm not going to be ashamed for. If I was out there wrecking guys to do it, that'd be one thing, but a little bit of rubbing, I think, is probably how this sport was created and probably how it should move forward. And I don't mind getting raced that way, and I don't mind racing that way. I got a little rub there at the end too from the 4 car, and it's just good racing.
But isn't that what he did, though? Kind of wrecked Jeff Gordon on the ice. Now the Carolina Hurricanes went into this weekend winless on the season. They woke up on Monday with a pair of weekend wins over Arizona and the LA Kings. Kings and Canes in action here on the power play. Chris Terry, the one-timer. Canes up 2-zip on the defending champs. Kings then on the power play. Drew Dowdy finds Mike Richards. That cut the lead to 2-1. But Cam Ward and company come up with the big plays in this one, and the Canes win over the Kings. Maybe they've turned things around. Carolina 3 and the Kings 2, that final. The Charlotte Hornets also in action. Also had a busy weekend. Both the Bugs, they lost both of their games over the weekend. In New York on Sunday, Carmelo Anthony passes the 20,000 career point mark. Fourth quarter, 90-89 Knicks, 3.5 to play. Gary Neal hits the floater. Charlotte has a 1-point lead. Or Carmelo from the outside. Melo hits the jumper from the elbow. 28 points. Charlotte falls to 1-2 on the season. They lose 96-93 was that final. We're back with more for you coming up right after this.
A group of students at ECU are taking a hands-on approach for a history lesson. The German program is holding a series of events to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Today, students and faculty built a replica wall that students spray painted just like the original wall. Now, professors from the German program say it's important to remember this history.
And I think thinking about the significance of the fall of that Berlin Wall makes us think about the significance of sort of tearing down other borders, other walls as well, whether it's walls in our heads or whether it's physical walls or any kind of isolation that we sometimes are a part of.
On Thursday, students will tear it down to celebrate the wall's demise. A very good way to bring that event together and actually put it in the minds of people. I can't believe it's been 25 years.
Yeah, we were talking about just the passage of time.
Oh,
I mean, it's hard to believe it has been that long since we talked about it.
It is a very important event, but the weather, nice for them to be out there spray painting and then for the event coming up.
That's right. Well, in fact, we've got kind of an up and down roller coaster ride for our temperatures, but the sky conditions outside are going to be looking just fine. Of course, tomorrow's election day, too. We'll see chilly conditions when you head out to the polls first thing tomorrow morning, probably waking up to some temperatures in the 30s and 40s, and then by the afternoon, we recover up to about 70. Lots of sunshine to be enjoyed. Our temperatures will peak on Wednesday, then a cold front heads our way for Thursday with a chance of rain showers moving in, and by later Thursday night those temperatures start to fall, and then by the weekend it's starting to feel almost as cold as what we had to endure this past weekend. But the good news this time around, no strong wind. We had a lot of high winds around here Saturday.
Yeah, and rain staying away for football playoff season.
That's exactly right. East Carolina trying to bounce back. Of course, they have this Saturday off, and they'll play next Thursday night at Cincinnati.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight at 10 and 11. Good night.